And welcome back, everybody. It's time for the Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions. And if you listen to us, you might wake up Monday morning independently wealthy. We've been saying it all season. It's something my dad started back in the 40s and 50s on radio in Birmingham. I've been proud to carry on the tradition over the decades. And here we are again. Hey, if you listen to us Monday mornings at 8:15 Central on Tide 100.9, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, I'm on with Barry and Wimp Sanderson. We have a lot of fun. I unveil my picks then, and it's been a great season against the spread. These difficult times of picking winners, we've done a really good job. And my picks on Monday will unveil now on the Old Gab Box YouTube channel. Again, we're going to pick the 4 playoff games this weekend. And before we get into football, let me just say this, because as we segue into 2025, we'll be talking obviously golf, a lot of golf. I'll be busy again, PGA Tour Radio, PGA Tour Live, doing the play-by-play. But I'll also be doing a lot of basketball. And for the first time I can ever remember, and I'm a lifelong Southeastern Conference basketball guy, I've done games at every arena, those that are still standing and the new ones in the Southeastern Conference. I've done every game on the men's floor and women's basketball in the SEC. I'm an SEC guy. I go way back, and never in my career can I honestly say, here we are closing in on January 1st, the Southeastern Conference men's league is the best in college basketball, bar none. All the other leagues, the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, the Big East, they have no argument. The Southeastern Conference is the best league, top to bottom. It's going to pan out. And by the end of the season, as we get close to March Madness, obviously teams are going to beat up on each other, but that just solidifies their computer rankings, their strength of schedule, their RPI, all the parameters that are used to choose seedings. And Alabama. Alabama is now number 6 in the country, by the way. Auburn number 2, Tennessee number 1. Tennessee is outstanding, undefeated. Florida's undefeated, 11-0 after beating North Carolina in Charlotte. There's just so many outstanding teams. And I just wanted to get that out there because we've talked some hoops as we flip the calendar into the new year. All right, let's get back to our pigskin picks. We're talking about the games coming up this weekend. And, of course, Friday, Indiana at Notre Dame. It's the battle in the Hoosier State. And obviously, football fans in that state are just terribly excited. And so are the Indiana Hoosiers, their players, the fans. They've never had a season like this. Obviously, never been in the playoffs. But they've never been in a position to play Notre Dame in a game of this magnitude. And right now, Indiana, a 7.5-point underdog. Curtis Rourke, the quarterback for the Hoosiers, is really an outstanding player. And if you haven't seen him play this year, here's a kid who had surgery on his hand and still played a week later some snaps in the game. He scrambles around, he sees the field, he's got a above average throwing arm, and Indiana can move that football. And I thought these were telling stats. Notre Dame, in their last 41 games against top 12 ranked teams, and Indiana's a top 12 ranked team, they're 8-33. In their last 20 games, teams that are ranked from 13th to 25, Notre Dame is 19-1. So they've struggled with the better teams, but as Notre Dame's season has unfolded after that inexplicable loss to Northern Illinois, they are a team right now that is very healthy. They're very efficient. They don't turn the ball over much. They have probably the best running game of any team other than maybe Tennessee in the Final 12 right now. They're at home. It's going to be cold, 25 degrees, wind blowing. I don't think that'll affect anybody. All these guys will be ready to play. I think Notre Dame covers in that game. I think Indiana's had a special season under Curt Cignetti, outstanding coach, new contract, etc. But I think Notre Dame, in the end, an opportunistic defense, ranked the top 3 overall in the country. I think they turn turnovers into points. I think they run the football effectively. I think they will stop Indiana's run. I think Notre Dame advances to round number 2, covering that spread against Indiana. Meantime, SMU at Penn State. Temperature not expected to get above 25 degrees. Wind chill in the teens for this game, even though the sun will be out. Again, SMU, a 8.5-point dog in this game. Last time these two teams met, they've only met twice. The first time was back in the Stone Age, and then previous to this, 1978. This is pre-death penalty for SMU. Good SMU team. Obviously had just a sterling season. Kevin Jennings, their quarterback, who's a converted wide receiver, showing his wares at quarterback and showing a lot of moxie. The kid can scramble around. He's got really a strong arm, has kind of a funky throwing motion. But Drew Aller has had a spectacular season for Penn State, debating whether or not to come back for another year at Penn State. Veteran guy. Penn State, obviously, their two big games this year. They lost in those games. But I think in this instance, I think at home, Penn State gets it done. James Franklin obviously struggles. I mean, it's well documented in his tenure at Penn State. Just hasn't won any big games against top-ranked teams. But I think in this instance, I think he ends SMU's dream season. I think Penn State advances, and I think James Franklin celebrates, which is arguably, even if they win one, lose one, this will be the best season he's ever had at Penn State. Meantime, it's Texas at home against the Clemson Tigers. Clemson, of course, won the ACC championship over SMU. What a season for Dabo Swinney's team. I mean, they struggled during the regular season by their standards, certainly. Louisville embarrassed them at Clemson. And if not for Syracuse rallying from a 21-0 deficit at home in the final weekend of the regular season to beat Miami, Clemson wouldn't even have been in the ACC championship. So good for Dabo. I mean, the guys had one heck of a run at Clemson, back in the playoffs. But I think as they go to Austin, Texas, which should be the warmest environment of any of the games, by the way, mid-60s and sunny down in Austin, Texas. Listen, Texas has lost twice this season. They haven't beaten a lot of great teams, but their two losses to Georgia, they got blown out at home, lost in overtime in the SEC championship. And I think what we saw on display was a Texas defense that is stout. Very, very good, especially up front. They put pressure on the quarterback. Secondary is opportunistic. They are turnover hawks. And I think Clemson's season ends after the ACC championship. I think they go to Texas, and I think Texas wins by more than 2 touchdowns in this game. I think it'll be close first half. Texas starts to pull away in the second half. And again, I think turnovers will create scoring opportunities for Texas at home. The Texas folks are excited. They're excited to have a home game, excited to be in the playoffs. I like Texas ending Clemson's season and covering that 11.5-point spread. And finally, Tennessee at Ohio State. I mean, all these crazy stories about Ryan Day. If he doesn't win this one, he's going to be out. He's averaged 10 wins a season at Ohio State. 1-4 against Michigan. I get it. Mike Vrabel, former Ohio State linebacker, longtime NFL assistant and head coach. He's rumored to maybe be taken over. You can't believe everything you read. But the last time Tennessee and Ohio State met, the 1996 Citrus Bowl, Peyton Manning and company won that game 20-14. I mean, that's a long way back. I mean, these are two stellar programs, and they don't meet very often. Tennessee at Ohio State, cold weather. Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback from California for Tennessee, hasn't had a great season. Tennessee's had a great season as a team. Nico hasn't been great at quarterback. He's shown flashes like in the second half against Alabama when he had a couple of those long passes. One was that spectacular touchdown. I don't think he's going to have to do a lot. Tennessee's running game is one of the best, if not arguably the best in the country. Great running back, great offensive line. Ohio State could not stop the Michigan run game in that final regular season game in Columbus. Tennessee is much better than Michigan, and I know we've had some time in between that game and now, but and here's the deal. The other factor, Will Howard, the quarterback for Ohio State, Chip Kelly, the offense coordinator, Ryan Day, for some reason, they threw 33 passes against Michigan, and only 10 of the 33 were downfield beyond 10 yards. The rest were dump-offs, screen passes. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Will Howard, in order to beat Tennessee, he's going to have to be more accurate and throw down the field, and I just don't think that's going to happen. I like Tennessee getting 7.5 in Columbus. I think Tennessee's going to win this game. I like the two SEC teams to win, Texas at home to cover Tennessee on the road, getting 7.5, and I think the SEC advances to round number 2. And in the end, I do believe that we will have, I think chalk will hold up on both sides of the bracket. Number 1 Oregon against number 2 Georgia. I think ultimately we'll meet in the national championship game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Those are our picks this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. These games, and you have all these other bowl games going on at the same time. You have NFL games on Saturday. It's good. Oh, let's not forget, as we talked about at the beginning, we got a little SEC and college basketball this weekend as well. Enjoy it, everybody. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you again next week. The Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions.